let's be straightforward and honest.
Tell me how you really feel.
Sucks.
Welcome to the Watch Society with Mark and guest host Steve. Joining them today is Mike Pearson, the North American head of Christopher Ward.
Today, we have Mike Pearson, the legendary Mike Pearson.
I don't think so.
If you've been in the watch industry and you're a watch industry nerd or insider, I think you're pretty well known. I mean, you've been around for well over a decade.
Yes, that's horrible to hear. But yeah, it's about 16 years now. Yeah,
with better part of a little over 8 years with Bremont on away then back.
Yeah.
Never go back. We might talk about Bremont later. Quickly, that's not the meat of the reason we're here.
Hey, it's true love, but I understand.
You went back to England for a short time with Wolf.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
and then back to the States with Zodiac, and for a little over 2 years, and now the North American head of Christopher Ward.
That's right. And there's a few other bits as well that have been a bit crazy, but
let's skip over. 6 months of running a watch shop,
yeah, but that was when they pull you back into. We can go into all of that. Every decision has been done with a good heart and an open mind.
Hey, if we look at all of our CVs, we'll find that, 6 months of, what was that?
Yeah, but you have to do that, really.
Yeah.
But I've also said after 8 years of Bremont, and it was true love. It was true love. There was no room for life, and that was wife and kids. So when you leave something after so long, you try and fill that void with something that's new. And it's like dating a little bit. You've sometimes got to kiss a few frogs to get the hits, right? So
you got to go the opposite way to see if that's really what you wanted before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think that your heart or your head or your profession I've always been told I'm a good salesperson, but I only believe you're a good salesperson if you believe in the product. Because if you're going to sell everything really well, it means you don't have a heart in it. And that's not a disrespect, but I really, really love what I did with Bremont. And so it's kind of took time to get to where I am today.
No, I mean, if somebody asked me to sit here and talk about rugs all day, I would just glass over and definitely not want to do it.
Get into the weave. Into the weave.
So,
I think this is the perfect guest for our first guest on the Watch Society. So,
thank you.
I'm your host, Steve Hardy, also known as Timepiece Tango. This is Mark Hackman, also known as the Professor, and Mike Pearson. This is probably the number one person I would have picked, and I genuinely mean that.
Why is that?
Because
I said that with all kinds of weird.
So the Watch Society is a platform for watch groups, and for the community, and so we really want to uplift watch groups, but also independent brands.
Yeah.
And as you came on to Christopher Ward, we're just super excited to see the way that you're going to take the brand. So welcome to the show. We're super happy to have you. And
thank you very much. It means a lot to be.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has gotten the concept of what the community means to a brand like you have.
Yeah.
Because how many people knew about or really followed Zodiac, before you got there and started talking to everyone in North America? At least in my opinion, it was it was that dead brand from the 50s.
Yeah.
I might have known the vintage piece. But by the time you left, I had been writing about Zodiacs, knew about Zodiac, knew about the history of Zodiac, and it was one of those things that was not on my radar.
Yeah, I felt that a lot.
And it was because every podcast I turn on to, you're there.
Sorry. And I'll say sorry to everybody.
It's great, the willingness to talk to people, the willingness to go out there and see the community where they are, help build that. And I think the fact that Christopher Ward got you is kudos to them.
Well, do you know what, honestly, and we can go back about how and why, but with Christopher Ward, I saw at the wind-up shows how Mike France, the co-founder, how all of his team, how they spoke to people at wind-up over a desk. And you can always tell how good a team is on setup day. And you could see Mike France and all of his team, who are absolutely amazing, lining up the sign above the table and being absolutely distraught that it wasn't quite straight, and working with the team. But they wanted it to look the best that it could, because for many people, this is the first time they'd ever held a Christopher Ward. And Mike France, 20 years of doing this and putting his heart and soul into it, but a lifetime of business sense. He always thought of the customer. So I'm on my Zodiac table, and they'd had some friendly chats over a few years and back into other brands as well. But it was always, I'm good where I am. I live where I live. I'm doing what I'm doing. But you saw them across the way, and you were actually they're pretty cool. And I felt like I was looking at my people.
Kind of gives you that smaller family vibe of a company that it is not the conglomerate that Zodiac was fossil.
Yeah, but it was.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the difference between that and an independent that is like they control it. They can talk to themselves, and you can institute some changes of philosophy and things like that. Put your own mark on it.
Yeah.
That has to be a little bit of a possibility.
I know that with my 16 years in the watch industry, I've tried to leave something wherever I've gone. Not always successful, and that's in life as it is. But I started off in the watch industry with a brand called Ernst Benz, and a lot of people might not know that.
I knew that, but skipped it.
It's fine.
I'll be honest.
But you know what though? It kind of goes back to that original idea. So Leonid, who owns it, he got it from Mr. Benz, and he got it from a guy called Chuck Agnoff, who owned Orbital Watch Winders, and he had a stamp. He made that moon phase watch. It was $5,000, and it was perfect at that price. Quite a bit too high after that. But what we did during the recession was unheard of. We built a brand and put a brand in people's hands and on people's wrists through a Caribbean vibe, actually. We did it where the people in the world were still quite happy and still spending. But I learned every bad habit, every good habit, learned how to speak to people, 100% learned how to sell my way there as well. But that pushed me into what Bremont is. So you've got to go through those times. But it's not a bad thing.
No, it's fair enough. And now you're Christopher Ward, which I think the watch community in large is very excited about, because they have been around since 2011.
It's their 20th anniversary this year.
Right. Okay. So, yeah.
Write that note off.
2014. There it is. 2014. 2011 is when you started Bremont.
Yeah.
I knew there was a year there at 2011.
Well,
read before I.
Yeah, that's
taking notes for a reason.
I think in that time frame. So I have a marketing background, and one of the things that I noticed immediately with Christopher Ward was the attention to detail across the whole customer journey.
Yeah.
So not just, hey, look at our watch, it's really cool, or hey, our movement is shiny and extravagant. The boxes that you guys deliver watches in, the Loop magazine,
mm-hmm.
the actual like real quality email marketing, and literally the entire system, the entire experience with Christopher Ward is on another level. And I don't think people talk about it enough. Like the box alone. When I unpacked that, I was shocked.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I also think with all the things they do right, because we haven't had that tactility, we haven't had that in-store experience. There's a lot of people that haven't experienced it like you have. And you have to buy the watch, go through the process to get it. And then you're like, oh, it really is legitimate. It is substantial. So when I come in with what you've said with how I think about the community, this is what this tour right now I'm in Atlanta on the Southeast tour of my Taylor Swift Eras leg, destroying myself. But because I want people to feel the boxes, understand how that click of the bezel feels, because there's so much more than just what you find online. But what Christopher Ward do really well is fill in the gaps that sometimes you can't get in the regular watch world. What they do miss, though, on a good side is this, let me hold it. Because there's nothing better than understanding how it sits on the wrist.
It's one thing like seeing a watch. No matter the price range, no matter when you see it in pictures, it's one thing. But having it, as we say, in the metal, it's completely different.
But then there's the opposite side of it, because we live in a world, we know what things cost, and at that kind of price, you know what it feels.
Yeah.
So what it feels like. So what I want, the reaction that I've been seeing, which has been really heartening, is that they pick up a watch, they feel it, they understand it, and they didn't really realize that watch should cost in our world, I don't know, $1,000 starting price point feels like a $5,000 watch, because we've been programmed that $5,000 feels this way.
Yep. Honestly, earlier I was looking at the 42 millimeter Trident in bronze, and 42 millimeter, you feel like that's a lying number when you read it, because it wears just a little bit smaller. That wears closer to a 40. So on my wrist, I loved it.
It looked great.
It looked great. And when you start feeling it, the ceramic bezel, the build quality, the height of it, because that's one of those pet peeves of mine on a lot of smaller brands is they don't get the case. You have to get the case just right to get it the height right, because the taller cases, the more room you have to just have tolerance. So when you have something that just has the right proportions like that,
we listened for that. We had thicker cases way before I joined.
Yeah,
and we listened to the community and asked for smaller and asked for thinner, whilst keeping the same dimensions within there. And so that's 14.5 millimeters high, and it fits so well.
No, I think so. I've had a couple of different Christopher Wards. Right now I have the new 12, but every version I've had has far surpassed the quality expectations that I had at the price point. I mean, it is by far the most overdone, over-engineered, over-finished watch in its category. So
well, I love that you said for the category, because a lot of people go, oh, it's a great watch for the money. And I'm like, no. It's not that kind of thing. It's not a money thing here. It's quality in a business way. It's done different.
It's people that understand the core demographic of who they're trying to connect with. Nailing it.
For me, I think for all of us, when we judge a watch, we do look at the price point, and as you go up the price, you expect something more. You expect something different. If I'm looking at a sub $500 watch, I'm expecting a Miyota movement. I'm expecting the bracelet to be not great.
Little janky.
Yeah. The Seiko shake.
Yeah.
But as you move up the price point, including in Seikos and everything else, the fit and finish gets tighter and tighter. The tolerances get tighter. And once you get to the 5K plus, I think you're expecting in-house movements or something special about the movement.
Innovate.
Yeah. You're looking at your Omegas at that point, and you want the coaxial.
Yeah. You're
looking at Rolex, and you want the free sprung balance and things like that you start to care about a little bit more, because there should be something more.
Right.
But when you start talking about what's the best you can expect on the case, the hands, the dial, everything that isn't the movement, because no one should ever be sad about having a Sellita movement.
No,
it is one heck of a solid move.
The workhorse.
And if you've ever been in a watch shop, taken it apart and put it together, respect, that is a well-made movement.
Absolutely.
That can run at...
But also made at different levels as well.
Yeah.
Levels of Sellita.
There is.
Same with Ete, it's the name, but it's what it's made of. Use good execution for sure.
Yes. It is definitely looks better than others I've seen. But to me, it's really, I'll be honest, playing with it, I feel like the Trident as a dive watch, I will easily compare that to a watch twice its price and take it home instead if they were the same price even.
Great. That's the test that needs to be done, I think, because quality is when you really, in a watch, that we know that in the world that maybe a lot of the listeners are, you're getting into the habit, or you're in it and you've got a nice collection. We want to be that, not first watch, because it's always going to be a journey for yourself from Fosso through G-Shock, and then you go down the mechanical route. But Christopher Ward can be that part of a collection. I think that's a really special place to be.
To me, it's at home in anyone's collection.
Yeah.
And I say that as like, honestly, I'm kind of compared to, I have the Zodiac from your previous company.
I know that.
And I love this one because I love the purple on it. And I love a little fun color, but similar price points.
Yes.
Not similar watches.
No. But the lovely thing with and not to compare apples to oranges, no one means you give me that face there.
Dive watch to dive watch, price to price. Movements are slightly different because of the companies they come from, but they're on the same par-ish. I would definitely take home a Christopher Ward every day of the week and 2 days on Sunday. And I don't mean to take anything away from Zodiac, because I enjoy my Zodiacs. I have
broadening it. It's not just Zodiac. It's plenty of other brands.
Yeah,
you can compare in that category.
That's that a lot. Like, who's your competition? And I don't think anybody really at this quality sells like we do.
No.
And then when you're starting to go comparison to comparison in terms of quality, I think it's tough because we do have a lower price. So we're in a category right now, I think, that's quite unique. But we've also got that Atelier style that's coming in that have really changed people's perceptions. And, right in the middle there, that Bel Canto didn't just change people's perception, it irreversibly changed.
Let's get into that. So you're talking 2014 to 2024 now. So in that time, it's gone from a true micro brand. Well, sorry, 2004. I said 2014. 2014 is the year the SH21 came out.
That's right.
So 2004 to now, 20 years. In 20 years, Christopher Ward's gone from a micro brand with pretty decent watches, a good micro brand is what I would say it is, when it started. And there's plenty of micro brands that start, you're kind of like, this may not be the thing for you. And there are others where you're like, good job, keep going. And Christopher Ward started off with a good job, keep going. And quickly, within 10 years of that, not only got their watches to a higher standard, but with their merger with Synergy's Horologers.
So I think you said
butcher that.
No, you did really well. We'll do this Amera win right now. This is grand.
I wouldn't even try that one.
But with the merger with them, you actually came out Christopher Ward came out with the SH21, which is an in-house movement, 10 years after founding.
Yeah.
A in-house COSC, so a chronometer certified movement with 5-day power reserve.
Double barrel 5-day, yeah.
For, what was the price point on that?
What I've seen, it's around the 2.5, 3s, yeah, when they started it. Yeah.
It's madness.
Find an in-house movement at that price range. Find an in-house movement that's cost standard at that price range. And then add a 5-day power reserve, which adds an extra level of complexity to it.
But also what it did for them, though, then, it kind of showed the capabilities of what could be done at a certain price point.
Yeah.
From the first moment to today, and in that first moment of getting the in-house movement, the business model has never changed. It's always been about the power of 3. So whatever it costs us to build it, the customers will get that 3 times more. So if it's a $500 build, you'll pay $1,500. So the transparency was massive. So we knew what these movements cost. We very, very proud, and this is me saying we just a few months into with the brand, but we, as in Mike France, Peter Ellis, Chris Ward at the time, and the rest of the company, this is the first time in 50 years that a British brand had its own caliber. And so what they thought is, if we are going to be that most accessible watch selling in a different way, only online, let's do something that's enticing. And so the SH21 did that. And as I've seen, the 10 years since SH21, every year, they've always brought out something which has popped above the pulpit, maybe punched above its weight. And then obviously we got to what we just discussed with Belcanto.
Yeah, and that's kind of you were talking another 8 years later, 2022, Belcanto. And already having an in-house movement, I think, is one of those things that you're no longer a microbrand. You're an independent. And the definition of that gets a little fuzzy, but I think once you start making your own components in-house, and not saying the whole watch, because almost nobody does that. If somebody says we make everything in-house, unless they're on a Rolex and Seiko, they're probably lying. But they're making most of it.
You need good partners. You really need good partners at this level.
Almost no brand makes their own dial, makes their own hairspring. Hate the pop the bubble. There's only so many people that make those things.
Yeah.
Almost nobody makes ceramic themselves.
Well, there's something else that stands out, that outside of the movement, even the Sellita movements, Christopher Ward does something that I've seen, which is they roll out entirely new lines successfully every time. So
you can find some things that are always going to be.
Well, there's a couple that
I think right now this year is the first time you'd say the collection is mature.
Oh yeah,
because we know exactly what we've got.
The Dune, you've got Trident, you've got
Aquitaine.
Well, yeah, Sealand, Aquitaine. Tell me a little bit about the 12, because initially when that came out, I think they sold out across the board, especially with the titanium.
Well, they weren't limited. It's part of the core. Going back to Belcanto, and we can go back to that in a second, but when Belcanto came, like I said, irreversibly changed, and we had to grow. The company made as many as it's made at the time, but we were also making the right amount of watches as we wanted to grow and have ambition. Belcanto sold out the first 2 years of production, which was 300 these limited editions. They sold out within an hour both days, and they were day after each other. So you were 2 years and 600 watches behind the 8 ball. So Mike France and Peter Ellis went, right, exactly. We can absolutely attach Rocky Boost to this company and be the best that we can be. But the whole thing's on fire in a good way, we pour gasoline on it by introducing the 12 to the world. Because, if you look at some brilliant brands like Chapek or some big brands like Tissot, for some reason, this integrated bracelet kind of thing started to happen.
Yeah.
It's the same with like colors in fashion or styles in cars. Sometimes you just hit a mode and some people start to have similar kind of feelings. But we came out with a watch which in steel was just over $1,000, which turned everybody's heads. And then the titanium was a chronometer certified SW300, slim and thin. But the way that it's brushed and polished, especially on those 12 edges around the bezel, on top of that honeycomb style dial, which is more our logo repeated, it just hit a mark. And that's probably the watch that I saw after Belcanto that really got me going.
Yeah, that's what you're wearing today.
Yeah,
not the honeycomb version, but the special edition.
I actually had my eye on the purple dial. But after seeing the blue one in person, that one's equally stunning.
We've all got a blue dial, but there's no blue like that.
And that's the thing, is that was stunning. I have a green dial. I'm not gonna hype it up or anything because it's a limited edition.
You're allowed to. We like to hype it up.
Well, so I've got a 1 of 30 edition with so it doesn't have the pattern dial, which I wasn't sure about. I actually really love the pattern dial, and especially since it's incorporated the logo. that is such a hard thing to do. I can imagine how much time it went to go into this, but when I got this dial without the logo, it's equally as beautiful.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, is every version of, trial and error seems to be a winner.
And that has the degradé pattern on it.
Yeah, and it's got a Moser-esque vibe to it. I don't even want to say that because
it's okay.
It's just
I think
a dial,
we've like integrated bracelets came from Gento. I mean, everything's come from somewhere that we kind of know, and so that dial was designed by a group. We do a lot of bespoke watches for big companies, small watch groups. We do a lot with military as well. But they want to stamp their personality or what they love. So who are we to say no? We just do it our way. So it's a good thing. So don't ever hide it. It's great.
That's another element of the community is when you're able to say, yeah, sure, your watch group wants to do a limited edition. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And let's tweak something we have for you so it's special.
I think the word no is hard to say all the time, but let's see. If it is a no, let's find another option.
Yeah,
and that's customer service.
Universally, not everything is possible. But it doesn't mean you can't try and do something.
But here's one we made earlier.
Yeah. Now, I want to get back to, as you said, the 12 has the logo repeated.
Yeah.
Part of the 20 years has been the Christopher Ward logo. Mm-hmm. And I think very few companies change logos and it works so well.
But that's that trial and error you just talked about.
Well, the early logos had a little bit of... they were lacking a little.
We'll put it that. Let's be straightforward and honest.
Tell me how you really feel.
It sucks. I mean, I was the number one reason why I never looked at Christopher Ward was because it was this Christopher. I mean, it's a long name to put on a dial, and when you see the whole name, or even if it's CHR, it was just one of those like, I don't need a block of text. Like, I don't even like the Rolex with their little teeny text.
Well, in my 6 months, I found 5-6 months wherever I've been with the brand now. That's the one thing I think. I'm quite glad that I'm with the brand now because I think with any company you're with, there's always that bone of contention, that one thing that's kind of controversial.
Yeah.
Christopher Ward's was definitely its logo. And I've found dozens and dozens of people that love it, and I found hundreds, if not more, that absolutely are so glad of where we are today.
You'll never get 100% of people to say,
no.
hey, I loved it or hate it. But with that one, I think you're going to find high 90s.
One guy told me the best way was, I'm just a dude and I don't want to do his name on my watch. And then there's another guy that had, and his wife agreed, it just wasn't quite symmetrical for what the dial design was.
That's also fair.
Which is huge. And then at the end of the day, Christopher Ward, out of the three founders, his name was the most English sounding. And that's why it was there. But there's more to it than that. But I think when you're really delving deep into what Christopher Ward is now and where we're going, the twin flags mean so much. We are English. We're very proudly made in Switzerland. We're very transparent, but that logo says everything.
It's symmetrical logo. It works on both just a visual front. It works on the story front. That's a hard thing to do with a logo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Mike France in a podcast mentioned that the sales for some of those watches jumped 25, 50%. Or more, just as soon as they change the logo.
Yeah, wow. And we've still got people now because some of the dials might be more stamped instead of applied. And we recently came out with a super quartz, and it did absolutely beautiful. It did incredible because everything's applied. Yeah, and the accuracy is there, and we've made it our way. It's still got the light catcher case. It tells a proper story, and I think in its 20th year, we used to do quartz. We do quartz now, our modern way. But that logo.
That's a small bone of contention where some people are like, quartz, never. It's like, what's wrong with the quartz?
Well, the tough thing with us was we were growing, is that we've said in the past, let's move in, let's be all completely Swiss. But Swiss doesn't just mean mechanical. No. And if you do it right and you test it correctly and it's accurate to, within 10 seconds of a year, you're perfect. And we did that for a particular part of our core collector, which is the military. Yeah. And if you're really honest, if you were going to be new into the Army, Air Force or Navy, we do really great price watches, but still just over $1,000 is still a good chunk of change. Yeah. So the quartz that we did and the price that we've got it at is accessible now. So it kind of goes back to the original style.
That's a beautiful chronograph.
The Valor. It's a really lovely watch. I haven't got one with me just yet. I haven't seen it in the metal just yet.
And plus or minus 10 seconds a year is...
Yeah, that's
Seiko quartz. That's not
Seiko quartz category.
Yes, that is exactly it. The 9Fs are in that range. Yeah. And versus, just for people listening, if you're talking about a typical quartz watch, it's usually plus or minus 15 seconds a month.
Yeah.
So it is a bigger jump than you expect.
So this is the kind of watch that you set all your watches to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the one, by the time it's off a minute, you need to put in a new battery.
Right.
That's kind of...
You wear your watches for time?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is not
That's
accurate.
That's a good topic because I get asked that quite a bit. Of like, I hear people say watches, you don't really need them anymore. But I'm the kind of person where I don't even know where I'm going to be in 15 minutes unless I have my watch.
No, I definitely set my time. I'm being facetious on it, but it's not. I don't look at it to the second. There are people that do, and they should, because they love it and they love the mechanics and the machinery, because it's decades and decades of work that goes into it to be accurate. So do it right and hold up to the standards that you say on the marketing. But I put on my watch first, then I put my outfit on after. Like I'm one of those guys, you know. It represents me
every day, pretty much.
I go reverse outfit then watch, but I have too many watches. So
What is too many?
Currently
That's
it's
not a real
64.
thing. Oh, okay, that might be. Well, that's fine. I mean, one every 2 months.
Yeah,
Once every 2 months.
Doesn't that feel a bit much?
Well, no. What I've learned is you can wear more watches per day. So if you just swap it out.
I have swapped out a watch.
There's a guy in our watch group. He wears probably William McDaniel. Shout out. He probably wears 3 or 4 watches a day.
right.
Because in our chat, we're always
If you're working
sharing
from
watches.
home or something and you're just going ahead and, walking by the watch box and counting, I can see that. But, I mean, on average, I will say that the date is not set accurately on any watch I've ever owned.
Oh, no.
The date is just gone. The
kinda
time
gave up
gets
on
set
that.
plenty.
I sent one watch to this one guy recently, really, really wonderful diver friend of ours, and he set the time, but just as the date was turning, and he didn't notice it, and I didn't notice it. And someone posted on Instagram, well, why is it in the middle of turning? I'm like, you're right, you are right. So you can never appease, but you've got to look after those date wheels. You've got to look after them.
I mean, you don't want him to break.
No, he was good. It was. I made sure of it, but it can be done. But I did want to just say, when it comes to how we, what we're talking about with these particular watches with the logo, I found out so much in just this 5 months from to talking to people, and what I have found out with the Christopher Ward community, it is huge. We have our own forum. We have a couple of Facebook groups, the aficionados and the enthusiasts.
The forum. I have never seen a community-led forum like that has a list of every single Christopher Ward made.
That's Kip. His name is Kip. He's the man.
Kip?
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're doing a great job.
He's the man.
Because it includes all the limited editions, the military editions, the small group editions. I was digging through that. Like, I have never seen anyone from any group that looks like this. And I've seen the back ends of some of the watch companies. Like, I remember digging through the back end of Cartier's collection. If you go in, if you are a watchmaker who has access to Cartier's back end catalog and can look through their watches to see all the technical information on them, you will suddenly find that it is missing so many watches.
Same with Omega.
Yeah, and
If you try to go find a vintage Seamaster, you have to kind of...
vintage. Well, I'm not even talking about what's public.
Yeah.
This is behind the scenes private. And it's one of those, like, it is amazing that especially pre-2000s, even going back to the 90s or 80s, we're not even talking about vintage.
How many years have been going? I mean, I would say with Zodiac, we had 40 years of it just really being mistreated.
Yeah.
But there are guys and girls out there that really want to find it. The lovely thing with Christopher Ward,
amazing.
20 years is a good amount of time in our lives.
Yeah.
But it's a drop in the ocean in watches.
But to have somebody who's out there
Cared for it from minute
just
one.
making sure from minute one to get every single little thing. I mean, do you guys let him know when a limited edition from a group is going so he has it?
The forum is owned completely by us, but we are completely separate to it. So we put it on our website so it's accessible to the community.
That's awesome.
Being online, we haven't got a storefront, so I have an opinion, blah, blah, blah. You find it in the forum. But we do not talk in there. Only very recently was I allowed over the threshold because I was like, I'm going to travel a lot. It'd be great to kind of show where I'm going to be and any feedback.
That's fair.
And actually, some of the shows, because it's just me right now until the team grows, I've got a couple of guys that have come along to some of the shows and helped me because I do not know the 20 years of the forum. So there's guys that are coming up with references I have no idea of.
Yeah.
And they've stood next to me and I'm like, I have no idea. But this is Alex, he's the man, and it's worked so well.
Kudos to all of those people because when you find that brand you love.
Yeah.
And I think all of us have that
We've got
brand.
one, Jeff Stein.
We have one in the community, Jeff Stein, who is the Hoyer expert. I think the universal Hoyer expert that everyone goes to.
Yeah, for sure.
There's another guy in Atlanta, Ark. I don't know if you guys know him, but he is the Timex guy.
Oh, yeah, you told me.
He has a website, Heritage 1854, which is getting all of the Timexes and old Timexes on there. and he's trying to build that kind of
That's
thing.
so cool.
So there are people out there that are trying to do it, but to have that from day one is such a luxury.
And if you ever speak to Kip, if you get on a video call, he's got books and boxes of all of our loops, all of our paraphernalia, every logo definition. And
I mean, be perfectly
man.
honest, it's one of those, if he goes, hey guys, can you send me swag? You should just send it to him.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's going
We should do a video chat with him.
Oh, sure.
just to see his cuckoo clocks behind him
Just
as well.
to-
That always
yeah.
go off during the call, which is great. But there's some good people in the forum. But it all kind of stems from how the community is. And yeah, when I started, Mike Franz was like, what's your strategy? I said, well, I'm going to go everywhere where we've not been. And I said, and I said this with respect, the forum guys know the brand.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go where they haven't been, or the people that don't know us. And so I did an event, for example, last night in Greenville, South Carolina, and we had about 60 people there, and 95% of the people have never held a Christopher Ward, and the other 5% all owned it, and they own multiples.
Loved it. Yeah.
And that kind of tactility works. But every single time I've gone into an event, it's felt like that. So I've got about, this year, 40 events that I'm going to do for the feeling of, if I can start connecting dots on this first year with me here, by the end of the year, we've got an office that will open with a showroom. Hopefully you can have a few more of them, which is great, and recreate what we've got in England. But then people can come to us. You need to be trusted, and that's what I want to offer.
I'm looking forward to it and hope, maybe one in Atlanta. I don't know. It's not where we're starting, but
I like this spot. This is a great
Yeah,
space.
leave us some. We'll shop.
hey, we're just north of Atlanta here. It's
Deal.
great suburbs for everyone to come to.
We're not doing downtown. We're not doing proper shop fronts. It's going to be just off the beaten path so you can come and
That's
have a good time.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of talk about some of the brand lineup. The 12, which is the integrated bracelet. The Bel Canto, which I don't want to spend too much time on because honestly, Google it. You'll find all the information on it. It is beautiful. It sounds great. It is an unusual complication and put Christopher Ward in a different level on the map.
Right.
And
You could literally hear necks crack when we won the GPHGs. People in the room turned to our table. Who?
that is,
Yeah, we've arrived.
yeah.
Oh, they can do that. We can't.
I mean,
that's
I have opinions about the GPHG, but I will say once in a while, they get it wrong, but a lot of times they get it right, and that was one they got
This one
right.
I told this
It was one of
before,
those, like, if anyone else won, it was wrong.
and I told Mike before I'd even joined, I'm like, you're going to win this. He goes, there's no chance. And he texts, goes, we already went and bloody won it. And it was just amazing because it was just so wonderful.
I mean, the striking watch for, not even the price point, a striking watch of any sort for 10 times less than anything else you'd find out there.
Yeah, but it's also really well done. It looks good.
And the sound,
I mean,
when it hits, it reverberates
factor,
just the way you want it to.
Happy noise.
It's not too big. I mean,
Was it D?
Yeah, the chord of D.
Yeah.
Which is one of the happiest notes.
Yeah, I think so.
You know.
And we had a board meeting or a directors meeting when I was in England at last, and there was about 7 bel cantos in the room. So it sounded like a chorus of
great.
fairies. Ding, 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 ding. It was very nice.
You can tell who really set the watch right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
before or after.
There's that guy 3-second ding. I'm like, where you been?
It's like he'll set it before every meeting from now on.
Exactly right.
So we have the Trident, which is like the traditional, been around a while in the lineup.
I think
right?
that's our Speedy. I think that's our Navi.
Yeah.
If that's
That
how
is-
I would look at it, yeah.
I mean, that's the traditional dive watch. And let's be honest, the dive watch is probably the most popular style.
Yeah.
Honestly, since 1953.
I know that, yeah.
You know, when we have the Zodiac, the Blanc Pond 50 Fathoms, and the Rolex Submariner. All
Don't forget Little Glycine. They were there
Yeah,
as well.
Glycine had some heat back then.
They were rocking.
They're the same year.
They were the same year.
They were, in fact, not the same year.
They were the same year.
I could have sworn they were 54.
Oh, the
53,
professor needs to go back to
Glycine,
school.
Blanc and Zodiac, and just after the Submariner.
Well, the Glycine did beat the GMT.
They did, yeah. They
Beat Rolex for the
Yeah, that's fair.
no, the dive watch matters, and
I really love the Tide.
Speaking,
This Tide is an incredible
part of that world.
part
yeah,
of
for
that
sure.
part of that dive.
well, you also have, speaking of 50 Fathoms, though, we have the Aquitaine,
Oh, underrated. As
which
well.
is said to be inspired by the 50 Fathoms.
100%. I think a lot of our watches have a certain nod to certain brands, but when you've got that box crystal, that bubbled bezel, it's good size. The GMT one really gets me. Really gets me.
I think that's why I like it better, the size-wise, better than 50 Fathoms. 50 Fathoms generally is way too big.
It's 41 millimeters, and it wears smaller, as you said. So
Which is much better because 50 Fathoms, the amount of times they're way up in the 40s.
Yeah.
That is just not many people can wear. I have a hard time wearing those.
The biggest we really go right now in our core is 42.
Yeah.
And that's,
And the
as you said,
42s
sits well.
are perfect for, if you're a larger wrist, the 42 is going to be great. If you like 40 millimeter watches, they're perfect.
40 is the average, but that's the sweet spot for us, I think, now.
That's for most people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 7-inch wrist, give or take, or
Looks good.
an 8-inch. I like my
You're
42.
all right. You could wear it.
So as the brand grows,
Yes.
there's so many options on how you can innovate and how you can move forward. And I think Christopher Ward has hit a really, I don't want to say plateau, but you've got titanium, steel, bronze,
yep.
right? So you hit some core areas there. You've got chronometer spec movements, you've got base movements, you've got in-house movements, you've got dive, you've got so many things that are already kind of done really well.
Yep.
Can you speak to kind of what the philosophy is at Christopher Ward in terms of continuing that progress and really fitting? Because the way it seems to me is that those additions of a chronometer spec movement and a bronze case are not just random.
No.
They're very strategic, it feels like. And when a new model rolls out, there's definitely a very strategic way that is pieced together. Could you speak to how those are?
Well, everything is chronometer rated.
Yeah.
We only chronometer certify things that need to kind of have a little extra push. I mean, the difference between chronometer rating and certification is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But so with the bronze, with our Ministry of Defense collection, obviously with our in-house, it deserves that little bit of extra push just to kind of give it that validity that it's a little bit different. But I think what we're doing this year, which you'll find with a lot of our core models, is given the options, because we are as mature of a collection as we've got now, is giving the sizes of just about everything that's needed, adding the colors that might be missing, and then a little bit of tweaks. The logo for one, certain things within the bracelets or the straps, some things that were asked for that we've listened to with our community. But the atelier side of things is where we can, I think when you look at the collection being as big as it is on those platforms that we're talking about, having our moon phase and our moon glow, having the bel canto, having the in-house SH21, which is always done in limited editions, we get a chance to kind of have these big moments where some of the bigger publications will talk about us, and then they go discovering our price points that start at under $1,000. But if we've got something that has never been seen before, but we can offer it now in this color, this size, this complication, this variation, all at our kind of spec, which is chronometer rated, chronometer certified, we're only going to grow.
Yeah.
But I think what we'll find with our innovation is that the bel canto was just the beginning, because SH21 has always been a limited edition. We're going to do something in our 10th anniversary, which will be announced this year. I mean, I don't know when this will go out. April 25th, we'll show it to the world. But that will obviously be telling some more stories about what we can do inside of a watch. Yeah. But then with the power of what was over the platine with our module on the bel canto, or what we did with our module on the JJ04 with our moon phase watches. I mean, talking about Moser, some guy was wearing a Moser moon phase, and he walked up to our case or to our table at an event. He's like, what is that? Because the quality of that aventurine dial was just captivating.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I know, but it's $2,300 at all that. But because it's the module that gives it the gravitas. But what you'll also find, and I think this is probably the point which I like, is if it is not normal, if it is different, if it is innovative, you'll see those logos going away, because the watch should sell itself. It should talk about its own story. And I think that's where you've got a little bit more of a gravitas towards Christopher Ward, understanding where it sits right now and what it can be. So yeah, there's more to come, but obviously I can't say. But this year is the addition, the growth on top of what we've got.
I love it.
So one last thing for Christopher Ward.
Yes, sir.
Which is, I love the tagline that gets used a lot, which is do your research.
Yeah.
That requires some guts and some confidence.
Yeah,
really.
Mike's got a lot of that. Mike France, he's got a lot of it.
They say, go ahead, try, find the better.
It is.
Do it. Do your research. They say when you're done doing that, you're going to come back to us. It's basically the implied statement.
You could take it out. I think it's more of, we've got so much out there, but we've got this great super compressor watch. It gets buried because we've released quite a lot of watches. Do your research. Have a little look through our website, and we'll give you all the facts that you might need. Hey, we don't have any stores, but now Mike's here. Go find out through the forums or the different ways of finding where he's going to be. Come and find us. It just gives us that ability to do what we do as the watch community.
Well, I like to think of it as the gutsy call of, go ahead, look at the competitors, look at what we have, Take your time on it.
I think
do
it's
your
actually
research,
the opposite. So,
and you'll pick us.
I'm going to use it.
We
though.
do.
I'm using what you've said.
And that's what I took it as. And the more I dug and researched, went, yeah. I mean, to before I start thinking of something else, I'm ending up somewhere in the Omega range, and that's we're talking very different
price points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's and different histories, and different movements, and different. I mean, it starts to be a lot of difference.
But I absolutely love it. I like the perspective because I've never thought of it or heard of it.
Never thought of it.
When I saw Mike, because Mike has a lot of confidence in the brand, and they call it spreading the ward, which
maybe
is quite
this
cool.
is the American view of things.
I think we've got to. I think we have to. This is why I'm here. I've been here since 2006. Let's have a bit of Short's chest out,
bombastic, some pride.
We still have that British humbleness about us, but
we don't do humble here.
I'll do the American.
We're the greatest.
Oh God! But we definitely don't say that. Trademarked. But I do love that you've took it that way, because I do think there's a lot to be said about having a look at what's out there and why we're kind of doing what we're doing.
So to move on from Christopher Ward just for a moment,
sure.
Since it has been part of your past, anything quick to say about the Watches and Wonder revelation of the new Bremont line and logo?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've left the brand just as COVID started, and I haven't spoke about Bremont as much on private DMs as I have since then. So I love Bremont. I think it had a really wonderful DNA from Nick and Giles. And everything they believed in. I think sometimes some of their history can be misconstrued as marketing, but they really felt it, lived it, loved it. Cars, planes, boats and bikes, the legacy of their dad. And they built something different. Steel, case, crystal, movement protection, the partners they had, it was really wonderful. I do think they lost their way a little bit for a while, and it needed probably a rebrand. And I get that. But I think there was this maybe transition that could have been done a bit more delicately. That's probably the best way I can say it. The watches on their own are nice. I don't know if I see them as Bremont yet, and I think that's what I have to understand.
That's fair. I mean, you took a polite take on it, which is fine.
I've got obviously, there's other ways of thinking. I think you can read between the lines.
Very well stated.
There's definitely that one thing you're looking at with your head tilted, and you go, I maybe needed something else. My biggest thing was that. Same with what Christopher Ward is doing now and what he's done for 20 years. It's all been very much, I get what they're doing. It's very clear. I think Nick and Giles, like it or not, understand it or not, it was very clear. This transition has not been. And I think that's the only bit that I can see.
It's been a bit of a throwing a car in reverse.
You said it. I'm thinking, I try. But I wish them, I've still got wonderful people that I truly love and care about. And I want it to work. But I think I have to hold the watch. I have to hold a watch.
That's fair. I will say that I'm sure there's some great people working there. There are people who put their heart and soul into that design, no matter what.
Yeah.
I will agree. The rollout has, no matter what, been bad or mishandled.
It was just a bit before they needed to do.
Yeah. It's maybe like drop a line of this, not revamp the whole thing.
Well, Mr. Tarato, who I don't really know, has taken a task and roll with it hard. And so, if you look at the grand scheme of things, in 100 years' time, we hope that Bremont's just absolutely smashing it, like all the brands that are going now. And this was a time where the logo changed. It could be like that. But right now, it just feels a bit close. It's really hard.
Rebranding is hard. The fact that Christopher Ward has made it through 3 or 4, however many rounds.
Oh, so many.
To where we're at now it's amazing.
But we were gradual though.
Yeah.
So we had Christopher Ward written,
right.
but we had our twin flags on the dial. On the crown or the case back. Because to be honest with you, when we were doing this, and I think you might have, if you've heard Mike France talk about it, we had to legally make sure that this was something that can be used. There are big companies out there that have a certain flag from an impartial, of impartial country that we just didn't want to get in trouble. So we did the 5 years of due diligence, and it was accepted, and now it's everywhere.
Yeah,
well done.
Well, to end this, we have a questionnaire.
Oh, okay.
This is meant to be a quick first thing that comes to your head questionnaire, kind of based off if you're an absolute literary nerd, the Proust questionnaire.
Oh God.
Which is very much, that was meant to find out who you are as a person, your morality and things like that. We're not going that hard. This is a watch podcast, so we're talking about watches.
I am that man.
This is meant to be start off just quick answer. What first thing that comes to the head?
Sure.
Just what it is for you. What comes to mind?
I'm ready.
So let's start. We're gonna start off easy and then kind of roll with it.
It's really terrifying.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You're the first one. You're the guinea pig on this.
This is great.
So, first watch.
Tag Heuer. Carrera, non-chrono on a bracelet,
Quartz or mechanical?
mechanical.
Yeah, that's a good
And
start.
I'm saying proper watch.
I was going to say. do you have a
first watch.
First.
X-Files.
That's a first.
I've still got it.
Really?
It's got the X-Files logo on the dial. It's a PVD case, tiny battery quartz, but
That's awesome. Yeah, because the next question is first luxury watch. So you got to reverse
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went straight to first watch.
Great choice. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Both great choices.
Favorite
Weird
watch?
that I've still got the X-Files, but I don't have the tag.
That's collecting for you.
What? One has a little more memory to it, and one was like, that was a cool first
Do you know
one.
what though? That was the first kind of thing I can actually get onto the ladder. I can move it on and get something different. That was what I did with that one. Tag Heuer.
That's a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
It's a good choice. So, favorite watch complication?
Moon phase. 100%. It's just so romantic. It doesn't. It's not needed, but it's lovely.
Yeah. Well put. Biggest watch related regret?
Buying a Rolex Submariner in the Caribbean when there were millions of them in the showcase, and just had and I had a company discount, and I never did it. So never. Yeah. Did you just look at the watches you could have had in the early 2000s, and you just didn't?
The whole crowd just
the pain of the entire watch
Tax,
market.
duty free, and discount, and you just look at and it wasn't even monetary. The options, the selection of just getting them then, and none of the pretense of waiting. They were just there. Oh, I'll get one day.
Yeah.
No, you'll never get one.
Or not.
Yeah.
Advice you would give to a new watch collector?
Oh, don't listen. Okay. Two sides. Don't read the comments. Make your own decision, and don't ever look at anybody's wrist and think it's what you have to have.
Yeah.
Perfect. I don't think you can get better advice than that.
And listen, comment sections are very, very worthwhile, but that can muddy what your personality is.
Yeah.
Buy what's good for you, because when I'm seeing you wear that, that's great. Might not be for you, but it's not peer pressure, and I don't think it is because it's a watch. But it's amazing how much you can. Big example is Panerai. I look at them, and anybody who wears one with confidence just looks like Stallone to me.
Yeah.
But I wore Pam 007, and it was really great, 07, and I wore it once, looked great, I thought. Second day I wasn't sure, third day I sold it. So it's one of those kind of things. It's
That's
just
a quick turnaround.
right, yeah.
Now we're going quick.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Word association. So
Beer.
one word.
Beer.
Date window, yes or no?
Yes.
Date window at 4:30, yes or no?
No.
NATO strap, yes or no?
Depends on the colour, yes.
Are watches jewelry, yes or no?
No, their personality.
Favorite material for a watch case?
Stainless steel.
Watch meetups.
Always.
Micro brands.
More the merrier.
Rolex.
Not for everyone.
Omega.
The best brand, but makes too many pieces.
Richard Mille.
Not for me.
Alarm in the Zona.
Oh, unattainable. So good, they did it twice.
Yeah.
Christopher Ward.
The future.
Watch brand doing it right.
A few years ago, I would, and I'm saying this with all the love, Oris. I would say for longevity, Rolex. Because we all aspire,
Yeah, that's fair.
you know. But then you look at just to mix it through with all of the micro brands going in and out and through, or a small brand that gets big, or a watch like a Diver 65 that hits home. There's so many ways you look at the industry and go, I get it, I got it, I want it, but it doesn't matter.
I respect the fact you didn't go self-serving and say Christopher Ward.
No. I think I'll that's up to me for the next 6 months to see what I can do.
Best kind of watch collector.
Oh, the one that supports every decision you make.
There you go.
Worst kind of watch collector.
The one that judges the people they don't talk to.
That's good. Favorite style of watch.
Dive.
Drink of choice.
Bourbon.
Welcome to America.
Thank you.
Yep.
Texas.
And finally, your grow watch.
I said it before, if I can get a Rolex Milgauss, I think that gives everything that's good for me, because it's not for everybody. The colour's there, and I just like the size. I think it's just a little bit of something.
Blue, white, or black?
It's all about the green.
The green color, but that came in black or blue.
It's got to be the black.
That's a good choice. I like that. All right. That's the question.
How did I do?
Excellent.
Am I a maniac?
You good?
I will let you judge for yourself.
Absolutely. Yes,
And
I am.
on that note, I've got a gift for you.
Oh. No need for a gift. Is it bourbon?
It's something little. I know you have 2 little girls.
Oh, brilliant.
And so this is as an independent watch brand. It's called I for Indie. It's a kid's book.
That's really kind. Thank you very, very much.
I think the sequel to R for Rolex.
Yeah.
The indie version.
Well, hopefully Christopher Ward will be in there eventually.
We're hoping. I mean, it's such an exciting time for the brand. It's really, like, I wouldn't have left Zodiac for anything. I mean, I've worked for a big company. I've been offered jobs with bigger brands, and I realised that my skill set is growing something that needs maybe something to grow. And Christopher Ward have already made America its biggest market, but it's still untapped with people that have never held it.
Honestly, I mean, a few insiders knew it was happening before, and when I heard the news from a second hand, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
It was so funny because when I announced I was leaving Zodiac, it was so hard. And I was just respectful and truly, mate, TJ and Ryan, who are there now, and Costa, who owned Fossil, I mean, I love them. But everyone went, oh, and then as soon as I announced Christopher Ward, it was like, wow, that really makes sense. The English, the needs to be seen in the metal. You're going to be out there talking to people, talking about it. It's like, that's a home run right there. Everyone saw that. Well, I've got some really great friends who knows my past as well, who know what I've done and how I felt. But it's not about flying a Union Jack. It's actually about the fact I have this accent, obviously, but I do love watches. And so I'll always fight for a good story, and this is one of the best. It's just the start of a very, very special chapter in this really long book of watches. So,
well, Mike, we're so excited that you could join us today.
Thank you.
We're excited to see your growth in the U.S. Obviously, there's a market for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what we recognize as well, is the watch groups in America need representation just like independent brands. So we'll definitely be seeing you again across the country. And on that note, we'll wrap it up. So thanks for joining us today.
It's an honor. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos.